Welcome back to another 7 Deadly Sins Origin video. Today we're just going to be discussing the raid, just talking about it in general, some things that I've experienced. I've played this raid so many times. I've played it solo, I've played it duo, I've played it in groups. So just general feedback and what I've seen and just kind of how I feel about the raid and just kind of some of the community's thoughts. This is one where you just kick back and just relax. I am curious though. I would love for you to comment below and let me know your feedback on it, because I've seen a lot of different things, but would definitely love to know your opinion on this new raid. And if you do enjoy the content, hit that subscribe button for me. Like I said, we're just sitting here talking, but I am getting closer to 1,000 subscribers, so every little bit helps, and I do appreciate all the new subscribers. Now, I'm just going to start talking about just in general, like when you start the raid, right? You come in the first time, right? It's instantly noticeable. The very first boss is literally just the most annoying boss that's ever existed. And then the whole structure around that, you know, he's knocking you in the air, he's pinning you to the wall, he's doing all this different stuff to you. Once you get past that, right, you realize that everything else is just as annoying. And I do not know why they make everything so annoying like that. Like, I don't know what the concept is. I'm guessing it's because they're putting you on a timer. Therefore, they're going to gate off a lot of people who are really close. Like, you're close, but you can't quite do it because of how annoying this boss is and how annoying this is that knocks you off the map and resets you 2 minutes. And how annoying just all this stuff is. I don't understand from a gameplay perspective and a game developer company why you would want to make your quote-unquote biggest game mode that's supposed to be meant for everybody to play in co-op, make it so annoying. It's just that simple. It is literally just annoying. You don't really get on there and have too much fun. I mean, when you're fighting the bosses, there are some fun ones. I mean, the first one's not. That's just, again, annoying. There are some fun fights, and I even like the end boss. And I love content that's super difficult and super challenging. But where this really starts to fall apart, in my opinion, is the fact of the way in which it scales. Because you would think with a raid, you're obviously going to be playing with multiple people. I have beaten this raid on solo the very first time I played it, and it was a literal cakewalk. So I had a really solid team. Again, I only had a P5 Merlin, but I already knew the combination. I had already played this game with multiple people. I play this game basically exclusively co-op, except for when I'm making videos. I enjoy playing with other people. So I'd already tested the raid with multiple people. I already knew how the raid worked. But when I went in solo, it was so much easier than when I was playing with people. That definitely should not be the case. That to me makes absolutely no sense. Why am I able to go in solo and beat it like it's basically nothing? I mean, it is still a challenge. Don't get it twisted. But then when I group up with more than 2 people, it just gets out of hand. And even with a second person who was a little bit lower than me, I think I was sitting around 105 or 110 combat power when I took it on with my friend. I think he was a little under 100,000. So I was definitely contributing a little bit more. But man, even at that point, we barely beat it because the way the scaling starts work. And when it gets to 4s and 5s, me personally, who has beaten it, like I said, very easy solo and has beaten it duo, I have never beaten it with 5 people because it scales so out of control that where you would think the best thing about this raid is the way the game's designed. You can try so many different characters, and because you have 5 different teams, you can do so many unique debuffing things. Like you could have a Hauser, you could have someone that has a Hauser, you could have someone that has a Slater. Applying these certain debuffs, you could have just a couple manis. You don't need to overload on manis, right? If you have 5 manis, you're not getting any benefit because when you throw down the ring, if you have 5 rings down, you're not getting 5 times the, extra mana to build up your ult quicker. That's just not how it works. When you're in one ring, you're all getting that benefit. So, you would be able to do so many different team ideas and strategies that would allow you to win within the system by building different characters, right? Elaine would be an awesome character. You could bring Elaine and give your allies shields. You can bring Elaine and just do some combat, like some ally stuff, right? Like I said, there's so many different ways that you could experiment and test out different teams in this raid. But instead, if you are beating it in 5s, which I've never done, but I've seen a few people and I know a few content creators that I've talked to in Discord, it's all the same team, right? It's basically the team I told you. It's going to be either you have like a P9 Meliodas and you're running like that way, or you have like Merlin, Clotho, Daisy, and Manny, or something along those lines, right? And you're all going to have the same team. So it automatically collapses in on itself from that perspective. There's no unique team building. There's no unique coming up with strategies with your teammates because it becomes so difficult that you all have to go super sweaty, super meta to beat the raid. I do think that the content should be difficult. It is a raid. I'm not saying it should be something easy that you just start the game right and you just summon and you get Merlin today and tomorrow you can beat the raid, right? I do like the idea of having difficult content, but what I don't like the idea of is it scaling so out of control that what it was designed to be, you really can't do it, and you can't help other players out either. This is what I've really noticed. When I first started doing it, my thought process was, I'm 105,000 or 110,000 combat power, right? My friend is right at 100,000. So now we can bring in a few other people and maybe we can help them get it. Maybe they're sitting at 80,000. Maybe they're sitting at 85,000. Well, I can get, you know, one of the people that I know that's a content creator who's like a whale, and we can go in here and we'll have, you know, some higher combat power overalls, and then we can carry somebody who's a little bit lower. Again, I'm not saying you could carry someone who just started today. I think that's unrealistic. But someone who's played the game and maybe they're sitting at 80,000, maybe they're sitting at 85,000, maybe they're sitting at 90,000 and they can't quite do it, right? You put them onto your team and you're able to help them. This was something I really noticed in update 1.4. They put out that raid that you could do once a day and you really needed to do it. People would help out the community. It brought the community together. People would help out, and even though that was a once a day event, that's just a super small event, right? People would help carry people that were lower levels to beating the event. Again, I am not stating for the record that you should be able to carry somebody who just started the game, but someone who's just out of reach, super close, should definitely be able to team up with their friends or allies or people that want to help them and be able to come in and experience the raid in a group setting. And it should be difficult. It should be hard. It shouldn't be easy. But it basically, as soon as you start scaling up with people, and if they're not on your combat level or past you, you're just cooked. You're not able to help people out really. It just scales to such a rapid rate. And another thing that makes it really bad is the timer. The timer also counters the entire style of gameplay of doing different unique things. Because if you were lower level, let's say you were, you know, like an 80, 85,000 and you're coming in here and you're just out of range, right? You just can't do it. You could build a certain team that could literally help your entire team, and maybe you don't even do damage. Maybe you come in and you're just a pure ally support. I talked about this in another video when I was talking about doing some different team build guides. I was saying you could literally have someone who just literally brings 2 healers. So maybe they bring Henderson and they save their ult for the AoE Henderson ult, and then Tiore, they AoE heal with Tiore, and then maybe they have Slater, and then maybe they have Hauser. Hauser lowers critical defense by 40% with his armor at level 1. And then Slater lowers crit resistance by 20% for 30 seconds. And then 2 AoE healers, right? Imagine someone's on your team, right? That's all they're doing. They are ally supporting and keeping the debuffs up so everyone else can do more damage. You can't do that. Because when you start doing that and you start switching up the teams, all of a sudden, because they're not doing a ton of damage and the boss is scaling so out of control, you can't combat it. You can't do anything with team building. You can't do anything with strategy. The strategy is all you need to be super high level to beat it at 5s, and you need to have similar teams that are going to just kind of nuke the boss. You can't come up with these different fun strategies to do damage to the boss, really. You just get stuck in this loop of not being able to help anybody beat it or not being able to come up with cool strategies as you're scaling up with more people. In duos, I had a lot of fun personally. When I got my friend and it was just us 2, it was like the perfect challenge for us. It was literally like, I think we beat it with like 2 minutes left when we were able to beat it. And we had lost maybe 4 or 5 times, but we could tell we were right on the cusp. So at duos, it is pretty fun. And I have a duo strategy video coming where I'm going to talk to you about different teams that you can build, different ways you can beat it. We've come back in and we've tested a bunch of different things as well in that aspect. Duos feels really fun to me, but again, we're right there on, I'm sitting at like 115. And I think he's sitting at like 105 now. Like we've leveled up even more and we're able to do it in duos. But as soon as I got past that, it just became, you know, out of control. But again, I think it definitely shouldn't be easier to play this solo. Like I said, I had so much more success in solo. It was so much easier. Like I said, co-op for me, duos was like the perfect balance. Like it really did work out well for us, and it was like the perfect challenge. But again, I know for a lot of people, if you are like 115 and your teammate's like 85, right? If you're just not quite on that level, then you're not going to be able to carry him. You're not going to really be able to help him a whole lot. It just starts to scale. Now again, in co-op, maybe. When you're in duos, like I said, we saw some success. It's just, I don't feel like it should be that I'm playing it solo and I'm able to do it way easier than when I come with a friend and we build teams in a certain way to where we're getting extra benefit. He had a Hauser, even though obviously if you were playing solo, you probably couldn't bring a Hauser. I had Daisy, I had Manny, I had Clotho, so I didn't have room for a Hauser. That allowed him to bring a Hauser because we have obviously the extra people. And obviously, like I said, that could expand so much well into 5s or 4s. But you just lose the ability to do that if you're not all bringing the super meta, super sweaty teams. So again, there's definitely some things I'm hoping they fix, hoping that they change up for these raids, because again, it definitely should not be easier as a solo than it is in a group. There's just, and also I don't know why it's just so annoying. Why they made it to where the first boss is literally the most annoying boss that's ever existed. As you're going through the raid, it just gets more annoying until you get to the bosses. And I think the bosses are fun. But again, you're just doing all this random nonsense just to waste time. And then putting the timer on it, man, I don't think any of this content needs a timer. It would allow so many more people to beat this if it didn't have a timer. People lose to the timer. If you could come in here with 4 or 5 people, even with it being as difficult as it is, just imagine if you could heal and actually sit back and chill. And it would take you a long time, like I said before, but you would be able to get there. Or if you're in trios or if you're in 4s, right? Building different teams that will allow you to stall it out and eventually beat it, because you want to beat this every week. You need, I mean, it's not that you have to, but you want to get that currency that you're getting each week. You know, obviously the longer you miss it, you're just missing out on free summons. So you want to be able to get that currency each week. What is that? 4,000? That's 4,000 currency each month. That's over a multi and extra, right? So it's just a lot of people are not going to be able to do this, and you can't even really help people that are lower get to doing it, because as it scales up, it just gets so out of hand that if they're not actually damaging and doing a lot of damage like you, it's just over. I don't think they tested this. I don't think they really designed it well, especially for something that's supposed to be such a team-based game. You know, it's really tough out here. But before I just discuss and rant forever, you know, there's obviously tons of different stuff, you know, involving this raid, but I'm just really disappointed that it was so much easier as a solo than it is with extra people for what a raid setting should be. So that's kind of where it is. And there's obviously, like I said, probably tons of stuff I didn't talk about. I don't want to, you know, rant forever, but hopefully they will address some of this, and especially in the future raids, like, need to be able to play with people. You need to be able to get more people in. You need to be able to come up with some strategies that are actually unique. But when you get to that 4 and 5, it just becomes so hard that you really have to focus. And like I said, I've never beaten it. So it sucks that they didn't really balance it in that way.